The anime takes us to April 20, 1648 in Testament era, where all the students of the Musashi Ariadust Academy are gathered for their class, except Tori, who's busy being Musashi's chancellor and the president of the Students' Council. The teacher Makiko reveals Tori is an unqualified student and she's so disappointed of his behavior during work. Then she challenged her student in a race, and the one who managed hitting her before getting to the office will gain 5 free absences. The individual efforts of each student doesn't work, so they decide to work as a team and just hit the teacher before she arrives to her office. However, despite all their powers and talents, at the end, no one managed touching her and they all fall exhausted. Suddenly, the boy Tori appears and bravely confesses his love to his childhood friend Horizon, who died 10 years ago. But 1 year before this confession, the boy met P1, a robot female who looks exactly like the love of his life. This female, who started working in a food shop that is located in the flying ship Musashi. In the next day, they learn a new lesson that covers the Harmonic Unification War, which is a big part of the Far East history. The teacher asks Suzu to explain more about the lesson, but the students don't focus on what she says and they are minding other businesses. On the other side of the city, precisely in the cemetery of Ukotama, Honda Masazumi visits her mother's grave, and there she meets the female robot P1. As they talk, Masazumi reveals her past. When she was a little girl, her parents forced her to do a partial sex change surgery in order to inherit her family name, but at the end, this was worthless due to the clan's decision. Few minutes later, the flying ship arrives to its destination and stops in the docks. Back to the student, who are trying to help Tori and find a proper way to confess his feelings. The group suggests writing a love letter, so the boy holds his pen, but all the thoughts he gets are dirty. Suddenly, the boy decides to prepare a spirit hunting party on the same night. So he asks all the other students to help him to prepare for it. Somewhere in the city, Margaret Nato has Masazumi package video game to deliver to Tori while he's out visiting Horizon's grave. The boy left everything and went to the place where Horizon died and seems to be traumatized of that location. As Masazumi is trying to deliver the package, she meets her father in the forest, and he tells her the story of how Horizon died, and he blames Tori for the accident, and the remorse he has been showing in the past 10 years proves that he was the culprit of what happened to the little girl up there. Meanwhile, on the same afternoon, ships from Italy and 3 from Spain, 2 of the Harmonic Device states, approached the Musashi for an unknown reason. In the next day, Sakai, president of the Musashi Ariadust Academy, meets some old friends, Sakakabara and Tatakatsu Honda, who introduce his daughter, Futayo. Saki is impressed of her talent and invites the girl to join his academy as soon as possible. After leaving the place, he met with his old friend. Sakai realized after talking to a lady that Sakakabara is missing in his house, so he rushes to one of his rooms where he finds a paper on the table saying, "Pursue the Nikyu crest." On the other side, the students are in the middle of their weird party and they finally manage seeing a ghost. Back to Saki, who meets Honda and his daughter, who inform him that they are starting a meltdown with Lord Montenobu Mitsudo in order to destroy Mikao. They already evacuated all inhabitants and only automated dolls and them are left. And now they are about to start the Genesis project. Saki gets shocked, but Honda insists even after knowing the danger and says that his display of loyalty is to protect his lord's wishes. The Genesis project gets started and the students watch in fear. In one of the ships, Futayo is acting like a leader by following her father's instruction. She leads her army to the next step, and here they notice the light form in Shin Nagoya Castle. As a result, the Testament Union ship dispatched leader of war and the forces of the 3 Spain counterattack to stop them. Honda's android maid gets herself into the fight and defeats the forces on her own. Meanwhile, Futayo discovers that it was a handmade meltdown and Kusano is leading a rebellion and her father is involved in this. And now she must decide what action is most beneficial for the Far East, and after a wise talk with her army, she decides to stand by and remain completely neutral. And every other person realized at this moment that the world is changing. The pair Honda and his mate got confronted by members of the 3 Spain, but they easily defeat them. However, this victory didn't last, and Kazano gets shot by Garcia, ally of 3 Spain who's bearing an armament of deadly sins, and is also referred as one of the 8 Great Dragon Kings. The two start fighting and realizing each other's abilities. Honda uses the corpse of Kazano as a shield. Then suddenly the Lord appears and starts showing off the reactors they are going wild. Then he explains that he's only working for the apocalyptic world with no future, and the only way to save it is the armament of deadly sins. And then he reveals a secret that there are actually 9 armaments instead of the 8. The 9th temptation, which is excluded from those 8, is jealousy, and then he confesses that those armaments are made from the emotions of a certain girl. He claims that he ran over this girl years ago and he implemented an armament based on the sins of jealousy, and this girl is P1. So her body is the armament itself. Honda faces Garcia and defeats him at the cost of Kozano's life. As the news of the armament shocks people, Masazumi does everything to protect P1. Meanwhile, Tori is looking for her. The Testament Union gives its order to arrest P1, and Futayo finds the target and informs the forces of KPA Italia. When the boy finally meets Horizon, he gets arrested by the forces of KPA, and he watched her surrendering to the forces. Right after this, Nagoya Castle explodes, causing the death of Tadakatsu Honda. And the next morning, P1 is known as Mikawa's ruler, but she is the responsible for the loss of Mikawa. The Italian Great Dragon King is taken by his leader to the hospital in order to get the necessary treatment for his wounds. And there he gets informed that the Horizon will be executed for possessing a weapon of massive destruction and for taking the responsibility for the destruction of Mikawa. Back to school, where Musashi's students are gathered and Heidi analyze the situation and discuss with her classmate the best course of action. And at the end, they conclude that they must form an alliance with Masus and force Masazumi to side with them. Suddenly, Makiko, the class teacher, enters the room and reveals they have only 1/2 an hour to do an essay about what they want to do. But first, they have to watch a broadcast on the TV where Futayo is trying to take the Shinto weapon, slicing a dragonfly away from Tachibana-gin. But they avoid any fight and they give it to her peacefully. As the student finished writing the essay, the teacher asks Tomo Uzama to read loudly what Suzu has written in her paper. And here, they get to know how the girl met Tori and Horizon on the day of the welcome ceremony and how they helped her in climbing the stairwell because she is blind. As Uzama keeps reading the essay, Suzu starts crying and she confesses her love through that paper. Then she gets up and asks Tori to save Horizon no matter what. Tori finally gets up after crying himself to sleep and gets inspired to make a plan to save Horizon after hearing what Suzu said about him. But then he also claims that he didn't help her to climb the stairwell because she was blind, but because she was kind and cute and he just wanted to hold her hand. After this, they decide to hold a special student council meeting where Masazumi will be invited as well, and she must come or she will be dismissed as a vice president. Masazumi recalls what her father told her, that the students at the Musashi Ariadust Academy are beginning to rebel, and they want to hold a meeting to pass a vote of no confidence in her. On her way to the academy, she meets Naomasa and Mitsutsudera, the two girls who decide to side with her in the meeting. They choose her side because they want to know if they are strong enough to hold their own, and most important is that they want a solution that doesn't cost lives, putting in consideration that such a mission of saving Horizon is a risky one. So they decide to settle this. The two sides represent the Academy and the Testament Union, and they get 3 representatives each. Whoever wins 2 rounds is victorious. The first match, Naomasa faces Shirajuri, the council accountant who uses his money-related abilities due to a contract with the control of money, so he managed making a contract with 150 more employees, and he combines their strengths to defeat the monster she built for this match, and indeed, he defeats her. Mito has to face her friend Suzu in the second round, and she wins by a shot of luck, since Mito wanted to surrender her knight's life and right, but her friend accidentally trips and falls into her arms, so now only 1 match is left and it will decide the winner's side. The final round is between Tori and Masazumi, the 2 representatives of the 2 different sides. It turns out the boy doesn't even know the basics of a real debate. At first, they have the right to express their views, and if any side puts his opponent in a tight spot or convinces him to change his mind, then there will be no fight. But then Tori goes first, even when going last is an advantage in a debate. Unexpectedly, he goes out with a weird idea of just giving up saving Horizon. And here, he shocks all the students, and the debate is still on, and the final result is in a part 2 of this video. Let us know if you like this part. Until then, take care.